All right, today we are diving headfirst into one of the most famous mysteries in the world, the Bermuda Triangle. You know the name. It brings up all these spooky images of ghost ships, planes that just disappear, all kinds of paranormal stuff. So, what's the real story? Is there any truth to the legend at all? Well, let's get into it. And it really all kicks off with stories that sound like this. I mean, this is a seriously chilling message, right? It's supposedly from the leader of the lost Flight 19 back in 1945. And it's this kind of quote that really helped launch the whole phenomenon. It just paints this picture of total chaos, like some strange force was messing with reality itself. So, just so we're all on the same page, the legend is all about this one patch of the Atlantic Ocean. It's kind of vaguely marked out between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. And for years and years, it's gotten this reputation as a place where you just vanish. No wreckage, no survivors, nothing.
And that is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Is this place a genuine paranormal hotspot, or is there something else going on? In this explainer, we're going to peel back all those layers of sensationalism and actually look at the hard evidence.
Okay, first things first. To really get to the bottom of this, we have to understand the legend itself, because it is a powerful story and it's fueled by some pretty out-there ideas. The explanations people have come up with are, well, they're definitely creative. We're talking everything from leftover high-tech gear from the lost city of Atlantis to UFOs literally plucking ships and planes out of the sky. Or, hey, maybe it's a wormhole that just zaps you into a parallel universe. These are the theories that have kept people hooked for decades.
So where did all this come from? You might think it's some ancient mariner's tale passed down through the centuries, right? Nope, not even close. The legend actually has a very specific and surprisingly modern origin story.
Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. You can literally watch the myth get built piece by piece right here. It wasn't until 1950 that an article started bunching some of these stories together. Then a magazine called Fate actually drew the triangle on a map, but the name we all know, the deadly Bermuda Triangle, that wasn't even invented until 1964. And the whole thing went mega viral, you could say, with Charles Berlitz's huge best-selling book in 1974. So once the legend got that big, it was really only a matter of time before someone stepped up and decided to, actually check the facts. And that's where this whole story takes a huge turn. And this is our guy, Larry Kusche. He was a librarian, and he got really tired of hearing all these wild stories without any real proof. So he did something that was, at the time, kind of revolutionary. He just went back to the original reports, the official Navy records, the newspaper articles from when it happened, the weather charts, all of it. And this slide perfectly shows what he started finding. Here's a famous story from Berlitz's book about an ore carrier that vanished in the Triangle. Well, Kusche dug into it and found out that, yeah, the ship was lost, but it had sailed from a port with the same name in the Pacific Ocean. It wasn't even in the right half of the world. Okay, let's talk about the big one, Flight 19. The legend always says they disappeared on a perfectly calm, clear day. But the official Navy report, the one Kusche dug up, it tells a totally different story. It says the weather was getting rough, and the most likely cause was that the flight leader got disoriented, made a navigational mistake, and accidentally led his whole squadron further out to sea until they just ran out of fuel. So once Larry Kusche started pulling on these little threads, the entire spooky fabric of the mystery just started to fall apart. And his final conclusions were just devastating for the legend. He found that, statistically, the number of wrecks in the Triangle wasn't any higher than other busy parts of the ocean. He saw that the mythmakers just conveniently left out details like massive storms. A lot of the stories were based on sloppy research, and some of the mysterious events didn't even happen inside the Triangle. His final verdict? The whole thing was a manufactured mystery. And if you want some real-world, hard-nosed proof, here it is. If an area of the ocean is genuinely dangerous, who's going to know first? The insurance companies, right? Their whole business is risk. And yet, Lloyd's of London, the biggest marine insurer in the world, doesn't charge a single extra penny for ships to pass through the Bermuda Triangle. To them, it's just business as usual. And the U.S. Coast Guard, the people who actually have to go out and rescue people there, they totally agree. They've put out official statements saying they've reviewed all their records and there is absolutely nothing that makes the area uniquely dangerous. So if it's not aliens or a time warp, what is going on? Well, the area does have some pretty unique and completely natural features that can explain why finding lost ships and planes is so darn hard.
So first up, you've got the Gulf Stream. The best way to think about it is like a massive, super fast river flowing right through the middle of the ocean. It is powerful. So if a plane goes down or a ship sinks, any wreckage could be carried miles and miles away in just a few hours. That's how things seem to just vanish without a trace.
And, of course, we can't forget about the weather. This whole region is basically Hurricane Alley. Sudden, incredibly violent storms can pop up with almost no warning, especially back in the days before we had sophisticated weather satellites. A small plane or a boat caught in one of those, they just wouldn't have stood a chance. And then there are other perfectly logical factors. That whole compasses going crazy thing, that's just a normal magnetic variation that happens in a few places on Earth. And let's be honest, human error is still one of the biggest causes of accidents anywhere. There was even this cool theory about giant bubbles of methane gas erupting from the seafloor and sinking ships, but the U.S. Geological Survey says there's no evidence of that happening for about 15,000 years. So, probably not that.
So, when you put all of these pieces together, when you look at all the facts, a very, very clear picture starts to form.
And honestly, Larry Kusche himself said it best all the way back in 1975. The legend wasn't some ancient secret that was discovered. It was built. It was manufactured by writers using a mix of bad information, bad logic, and just plain old sensationalism to sell books and magazines. And that's really the bottom line. When you actually do the math, when you look at the percentage of incidents based on how much traffic and bad weather the area gets, the Bermuda Triangle is no more dangerous than any other similar part of the world's oceans. The data just doesn't support the mystery. Which leaves us with one last really interesting question. The facts are pretty clear. The evidence is out there for anyone to see. And yet, the legend of the Bermuda Triangle is as popular as ever. So maybe the real mystery isn't about what's happening in the ocean, but why we as people are so much more drawn to a thrilling, spooky story than we are to a simple, clear explanation.